The Queen Consort was hours away from a press appearance. Her outfit was chosen, sealed behind a private wardrobe no one was meant to touch. But the moment a royal guard spotted the markings on the garment bag, he knew exactly what it might be. Queen Elizabeth's coronation robe, not a replica, not a tribute, the real one. And when Camilla refused to open the wardrobe, he didn't ask again. He forced them open himself. What he pulled out shocked everyone. Now, before we show you exactly what unfolded inside Clarence House, hit subscribe with the bell turned on and drop a comment telling us what you would have done in that moment. Because this story didn't end in the spotlight, it ended behind a locked wardrobe. The chandeliers inside Clarence House had already been dimmed for the evening when Elsie Grafton realized she'd forgotten something. She was nearly finished with the wardrobe check, cross-referencing tomorrow's outfit choices against what the press team had requested. Something visually commanding, they'd said. Something with gravitas for the step and repeat photos. Camilla wanted to look heritage-focused, connected to tradition. Elsie had been working as a junior chamber attendant for 3 years, and she knew the routine by heart. Sapphire silk daywear, check. State brocade shawl, check. Beige gloves for the garden greeting, check. Everything was accounted for, properly tagged, ready for tomorrow's appearance. That's when she dropped her pen. It rolled behind the dressing screen, of course, the one spot she couldn't reach without getting on her hands and knees. She crouched down, feeling around in the dim space between the wall and an old campaign trunk, when her fingers brushed against something that definitely wasn't supposed to be there. A garment bag, large, heavy, and older than anything else in that immaculate dressing room. She should have left it alone. She knew that. But dust was clinging to the deep velvet covering, and there was something about the way it had been wedged back there, not stored, but hidden, that made her stomach tighten. The emblem on the bag made her breath catch completely. A crown encircled by laurel, and beneath it, ERII, embroidered in faded gold thread. Elizabeth Regina II. Her hands were trembling slightly as she unzipped it just a few inches, just enough to see the cascade of crimson velvet inside, heavy as a theater curtain, with gold-threaded oak leaves catching what little light filtered through the gap. She'd only ever seen fabric like this in coronation photos, the kind that lived in museums and history books, not in private wardrobes, not marked for press appearances. Elsie carefully zipped it back up and moved it out from behind the screen, not stuffing it back where she'd found it, but placing it gently on the ottoman where someone would notice it in the morning. Then she stepped into the corridor and made a phone call she probably wasn't supposed to make. Royal Collection. This is Elsie Grafton at Clarence House. I need to report something. There's a garment here with ER2 markings, crimson velvet, gold embroidery, and it's scheduled to be worn tomorrow. She didn't need to say more. 20 minutes later, an encrypted alert was pinging on a secure console deep inside Windsor Castle. By sunrise, that alert had reached Princess Anne's personal aide, and a sealed envelope was being hand-delivered to Wellington Barracks, addressed to Sergeant Ian Merrick with a message that would change everything. Possible unauthorized possession of state regalia scheduled for public wear. Clarence House. Immediate verification required. Because what else he had found wasn't just any ceremonial garment. It was Queen Elizabeth II's actual coronation robe, the same one worn at Westminster Abbey in 1953, and someone was planning to wear it again. Sergeant Ian Merrick had learned not to trust knocks that came before dawn. This one arrived at 4:52 just as his kettle was starting to whistle in the corner of his Wellington Barracks quarters. Not the hurried rap of a courier running late. Not the casual rhythm of a friend stopping by. This was official, measured. The kind of knock that meant someone with real authority was standing outside your door. He opened it to find a staffer from the Royal Liaison Office, face completely neutral, holding a crimson-sealed envelope like it contained nuclear codes. No small talk, no explanation, just a nod, a handoff, and footsteps disappearing down the corridor. The envelope bore a single line stamped in black ink. Immediate eyes only. Heritage detail clearance. C.H. Merrick had been doing heritage security for 8 years. He'd handled missing artwork, suspicious auction lots, items that had wandered from royal residences into private collections, but he'd never received anything with this level of urgency. Not at this hour. Inside were 2 sheets. The first was typed and clinical. Confirmed sighting of regalia-class ceremonial garment bearing ER2. Insignia within Clarence House dressing quarters, 2,240 hours associated with Queen Elizabeth II's Coronation Wardrobe archive. Item is not recorded as transferred, loaned, or deaccessioned. Scheduled for potential public wear within 12 hours. The second was handwritten. Just a few lines, but they carried the weight of a royal command. Sergeant Merrick, the robe was never meant to be worn again. Certainly not rebranded. Confirm it. Secure it. He didn't need to see a signature to know Princess Anne had written those words herself. Anne didn't involve herself in minor protocol disputes. If she was sending handwritten notes before sunrise, this wasn't about fashion choices or press appearances. This was about protecting something that belonged to history itself. Merrick folded the note and tucked it into his breast pocket, then moved with a kind of precision that 8 years of military service had drilled into him. Within minutes, he was dressed in the understated gray uniform of the Internal Security Lazason Corps. Not the ceremonial red that would draw attention, but the kind of outfit that let you blend into royal household without anyone asking questions. He pulled a narrow archival transport case from his footlocker and checked its contents. Temperature-controlled, acid-free lining, biometric lock, everything needed to safely relocate a piece of national heritage. By 6:10, he was in the back of an unmarked Defender navigating London's early morning traffic toward Clarence House. As far as the staff there would know, he was just another contractor handling pre-event logistics. What they wouldn't know, at least not yet, was that he wasn't there to inspect security protocols. He was there to prevent a theft. Is that the emergency? That someone might see a little history on camera. Merrick looked directly at her, because what's behind this door was never meant for cameras or commentary or reinterpretation. The silence that followed felt thick enough to cut. Camilla crossed her arms, studying him with the quiet fury of someone used to getting her way through tone alone. "Do you have any idea what doors you're opening by doing this?" "Yes, Mom," Merrick said, turning toward the wardrobe handles. "Then I'll open this one next." The hinges gave a soft groan as Merrick pulled the wardrobe doors wide. For a moment, nobody moved. Inside, everything was pristine. Rows of designer day dresses arranged by color, crested brooches nestled in velvet trays, ceremonial gloves folded into silk pouches. It was the kind of organization that radiated control and attention to detail. But Merrick wasn't looking at the perfection. He was scanning for the anomaly. Behind him, the legal attaché muttered, "This is an abuse of access. I'll be filing a complaint with the royal household. You're welcome to," Merrick replied without turning around after I finish what I came to do. He found it on the lower shelf, tucked beneath a row of preserved formal wear. A single garment bag, longer than the others, heavier in the middle, its fabric cover visibly older and more weathered than everything else around it. Unlike the other bags which bore printed wardrobe tags with dates and occasions, this one had no identification at all except for 3 letters embroidered into its upper hem, barely visible beneath years of careful dust. E-R-I-I, Elizabeth Regina. Merrick's hands were steady as he unzipped the cover with deliberate precision. A faint scent of old cedar escaped, the kind of archival grade preservation that museums used for their most precious artifacts. Then the robe emerged, crimson velvet, thick as a tapestry, folded around an inner lining of gold silk that seemed to glow under the ceiling lights. The trim was breathtaking, gold-threaded oak leaves embroidered in full relief along the hem, each one individually stitched with bullion thread. Royal arms woven subtly into the fabric, not stamped or printed, but crafted by hand with the kind of skill that didn't exist anymore. And just beneath the collar, an aged linen tag, in perfect calligraphy. N. Hartnell, May 1953, Windsor Atelier. There was no mistaking what he was looking at. This wasn't a tribute piece. It wasn't ceremonial inspired. It wasn't a replica commissioned for special occasions. This was the actual coronation robe, the one Queen Elizabeth II wore when she processed into Westminster Abbey 70 years ago. The one that had been sealed in temperature-controlled archival storage ever since under sovereign custody. Never meant to see daylight again until now. Merrick didn't need to announce his discovery. The silence in the room said everything. Lady Ashcroft's clipboard slipped. The legal attaché gaped. Camilla stepped to the crimson robe and breathed. "A symbol," she said. "A harmony, one reign to another." Merrick kept his eyes on the velvet. Symbolism isn't sovereignty. He scanned the seam. The tablet flashed. Royal Collection. Restricted item, Class 1. Hold initiated. Chain of custody began. History had been saved from becoming costume. He spread an archival sheet and lifted the robe with reverence. Its weight was memory. Photographs. The breath-held moment a young woman became queen. Gold oak leaves caught the light. The collar tag read, Hartnell, Coronation Commission, 1953, Royal Number 0004. "Dear God," Ashcroft whispered. Camilla stayed calm. "Photographed only," she said. "Continuity." "Continuity doesn't require inheritance," Merrick replied. A knock. 3 even strikes. Princess Anne entered, alone, with a red folder. She produced a laminated order, Coronation Robe, State Velvet. Item 0004, remain in archives, not to be displayed, worn, or leave sovereign custody. Signed E.R. "Recommended by whom?" she asked. Silence. "You honor what came before by leaving it intact," Anne said. "You cannot wear someone else's crowning moment." To Merrick, "Pack it." Windsor by noon. He worked methodically. Sleeves folded in, hem cushioned, restraints crossed, digital tag set. The tablet chimed. Heritage Class I transfer initiated. Seal applied, alarms armed. "No public record unless archives choose," he said. He noticed a suitcase cut for the robe, discreet initials CR, and said nothing. Outside, the transport idled. Camilla watched from the steps, arms folded against more than the cold. No words. Merrick placed the case into the climate-controlled compartment. Lights turned green. Anne approached quietly. "You held the line," she said. "Some moments happen only once." The van disappeared into London traffic. Merrick exhaled. No triumph. The knowledge of a legacy preserved. Should the robe ever be worn again, or only guarded?